That's that lady that moans in the bathroom in Harry Potter, right? Laura Loomer.
Welcome to Nice Ashes. Join hosts Mike and Nate for cigars and culture. Let's go beyond the smoke.
What are we smoking, Mike?
We are smoking the Oro Cubano Anniversario. And it's got a pretty fancy label for a very cheap cigar.
Yeah,
coming to the end of these $1.70 cigars. So
it's a long one too. It's like that other one we smoked. The Don Smith Series D, I think, was longer than a Robusto. This one's also long.
This is about the same size as that Don Smith. Hopefully, it's as good as the Don Smith. If it is, I'll be.
Have you wet the cap?
Yeah. Yes, I did, and I don't think it's going to be as good.
It is not as good.
I mean, I smelled the tobacco, and
yeah. Well, we'll see. Very kind of a nasty taste on the cap there.
You know what? First puff, not bad.
Yeah, actually not bad.
We may be eating our words. I hope so.
Well, better than eating that last Tatiana we smoked with all the debris.
Oh my.
I am pairing mine with an Elm Creek Brewing Bottom Dollar, which is a West Coast IPA.
Nice. I have ice water, and I made a whiskey on the rocks. Prawn oil on the rocks. Yeah,
responsible
I do have
man's
some
cocktail.
Bitters in it, some cherry cacao bitters, as I like to do.
Yes, were those some of the ones that you let me sample on the birthday bash weekend, Mike?
Yes, it was the one that you had to shake into it. Didn't have a dropper, but not the tall, thin bottle. The tall, thin bottle was black walnut.
Oh, yeah. That was good.
For those who,
some bitters.
Yeah. Well, now you have some Canadian whiskey.
Yep.
And other fine liquors for your
accoutrements.
Cabinet. So,
yes.
Yeah.
I have been enjoying kind of being stocked again in the liquor cabinet department. It's a nice change of pace from beer. I'm normally just beer, but I do like the whiskey and even the rum and other things. So
yeah, I like having a stocked bar at the house. It makes me feel like an adult. Not a lot does make me feel like an adult. So I'm still waiting for that adulthood to hit me. Hasn't happened yet.
Maybe one day, Mike. Maybe one day.
Maybe
when
one
you're
day.
As old as I. When you're as old as I.
When I am your age, I better feel like an adult. Otherwise, I've been lied to.
It's not going to happen.
Yeah, I can't remember when I figured it out or who told me, but at least by my mid-20s, I was aware that I would never feel like an adult because an elderly gentleman told me that, and he was retired and listening to Pink Floyd. It's like, you're 80, like, I don't feel like an adult. Like, oh, you're 3 minutes away from the grave. So age is in your heart, all that.
Yep.
But, yeah, it's my topic today. We're going to have a very exciting topic. We're going to have a little intro.
First, we should say,
and
hopefully everyone is still here after 4th of July last weekend. Hopefully you're all still here, have all your fingers.
Absolutely. I hope you guys had an enjoyable time with your families. 4th of July is a wonderful, wonderful weekend. I plan on spending it with my family. And, America, I know we did our episode, and it's easy to criticize, myself included. I am one of these people. But the American promise is beautiful, and it is a promise we have yet to achieve. And keeping our eye on the goal, I think, is part of that. But we do live in a great country, and we should appreciate that.
Yes, it's easy listening to news or watching the news and think of all the terrible things because a lot of terrible things happening. But there's also a lot of good things happening, and good things don't get reported on the news. So
no, and as has been said on this show before, the revolution will not be televised. So it's up to you to make the world what you want it to be.
And we have a happy episode this episode, right, Mike?
Oh, we are going to start off happy, and we're going to get happier, bro.
Hell yeah.
This episode was inspired by 2 pieces of legislation that are coming down the pipe, and we're going to do a brief overview.
We're not doing the Princess Bride movie review?
I don't think so. I forgot. Didn't watch it. Never seen it. That's not true. I've seen it, but I think everybody listening has probably seen it. They're in the right age demographic. So
we're talking about something else.
We're talking about something else.
As you wish.
We're going to reveal the real episode topic here in a few, because we're going to talk about the SAVE Act first. The SAVE Act has been passed by the House of Representatives. As of recording, it is stalled in the Senate. Probably won't pass. It's kind of a perennial act that comes around every cycle. It's supported by Republicans and the president, and it's opposed by Democrats and pretty much everybody else. The SAVE Act would require proof of U.S. citizenship for voting, and that's not the problem. The problem is the mechanism. It punishes people who have changed their name, and you have to bring in additional documents to support that. So, for example, if you're a woman who has changed their name, or a man, anybody who has changed their name, you would need to bring your current ID, your original ID, a birth certificate, and 3 or 4 other pieces of paperwork, kind of like you'd have to do when you go get a real ID.
Sure.
And it's really opposed by transgender activists, but the aim of it, in my opinion, is to discourage voting amongst people of limited means, right? Because you're targeting people that probably don't have original copies of their birth certificate anymore. Then you have to go out and get it.
Is that another way to say targeting people of color?
Democrats would say so. I don't, because it's targeting people with limited means, and there's more poor white people than there are poor black people or poor Latino people.
Well, and I wanted to make that distinction because a lot of people love to bring race into all of the discussions or sexual preference into all of the discussions, when really in America here and a lot of other developed nations, it's not so much about the color or your attractions, but it's are you in the ruling class or not, is what it comes down to. It's
what it comes down to. And to a more real level, are you a person with the means to go to a courthouse and get your original birth certificate? Because you need to go to the courthouse. So let's say you are a woman who was married and divorced in Sacramento, and you lost somehow your divorce decree or didn't get it. You'd have to go to Sacramento to get that motherfucker in person, to my understanding. And you would need that to be able to vote if you change your name. And that's where the real discussion comes in, is because now you have to travel, you have to do this and that and the other thing. It becomes a mess very quickly, and different states have different rules and regulations. So it's a great mechanism to lower voter turnout amongst people of lower economic status, which I think a lot of voting restrictions are genuinely about that. We've discussed it on the show, where we don't have widespread evidence of in-person voter fraud going on. So you're going after a problem that doesn't exist. So if you're going after a problem that doesn't exist, there has to be an alternate motive.
Well, of course.
Of course. And this affects people who were adopted. So if you were adopted from South Korea, how are you going to verify your name changes? And, these systemic issues that it brings up, right? And of course, it's being framed by the Democrats as a transgender issue when it's really bigger than that.
Well, and less than 2% of the population identifies as transgender or even LGBTQ to an extent, right? So...
Right. And the controversy is, like I say, in my opinion, the controversy is largely a cover-up of the real motivation, which is to disenfranchise poor people.
Yep. Because they're the ones that want all the things that the government should be doing that everybody else is kind of okay with, I think. I mean, by and large, not as like a long-term solution, but most people are okay with like welfare as a stopgap.
Well, culturally, I'm from Minnesota, you're Wisconsin. I support the welfare state. I also support reforms. So
sure, yeah.
I'm not against the welfare state by any means.
Whatever makes the most sense, right? And actually helps change the underlying problem.
Right. So this leads into the second bill that these two bills led me to explore our real episode topic, which was the 2027 National Defense Authorization Act. These have both made it out of committee. These National Defense Authorization Acts almost always pass.
Sure.
It is likely to pass. And I had some pushback trying to find information about it because the real controversy is that it is going to create a permanent link between the United States and Israel militaries. And it is going to create a pipeline for our military to directly fund the Israeli military without authorization from Congress. Because if you create a permanent office, you now remove the quote-unquote red tape, and that red tape, in this context, is legislation. So...
Congress just limited Trump's war powers in Iran.
Yes, they did, but...
Not by the amount...
That'll change on Friday.
But
right?
yes.
Like, that'll change on Friday.
But that's the story behind a lot of these legislations, at least in modern times, and probably going back. I just don't understand enough of the inner workings of the eras of a lot of other bills that have been passed in the United States. But it's like, we talked about a little bit last episode, the separate powers in the Constitution, and everybody's always trying to bypass the congressional approval part or the other approval part or, whatever it is, because everything's easier and we need to do it because the world today moves faster than the world did back then and blah, blah, blah. Well, why don't we just have like a group chat that Pete Hegseth can fucking leak online or something, right?
Well, yeah, a very common talking point in American politics has been for a long time the inefficiency of bureaucracy. And it can be true, especially on the local government level.
Oh, definitely can be true.
But what we need to remember is that bureaucratic control is also a safety valve that slows the process down for review and public review, because everything a bureaucrat does is public record. So if something's going on that people disagree with, it gives you time to expose it.
Yep.
If you create an independent, integrated bureaucracy between two militaries, you're going to get that bureaucratic control internally, but because it's military, you're not subject to outside review. Yep. So this is the opposite of what we would normally think of. It's trying to streamline the pipeline instead of slow it down.
Yep. And I would rather slow it down, honestly. If I have to sit for half an hour before deleting my email to Sandy at work with a bunch of angry language in it, like, we can do that with our military.
Right. We're talking life and death, quite literally.
Yeah.
So,
like, let the cooler heads prevail.
Yeah. Let the policy cycle prevail.
Yep.
Maybe we can't afford...
sometimes you need immediate response, but it's not very frequent.
Well, history proves us wrong on that, apparently.
Does it?
We have a lot of immediate response with the military. In general, I agree with you, of course. I'm just being a smarty pants, but...
Well, yes. But even our response to Pearl Harbor wasn't immediate.
No, and there's significant evidence to show that our government may have been aware of what was going on before the attack and allowed it to happen.
Well, sure. And even 9/11, our response was not immediate.
Oh, no, it was not. And same situation with that.
Pretty much.
Weird. So these two acts, these two legislations make no sense to me from a freedom. I'm a big freedom guy. You guys might not know that about me. Big fan of personal freedom.
As long as you're pro-Israel. If you're anti-Israel, then Mike does not want any freedom for you.
No. I'm a regular Laura Loomer when it comes to that. We're going to talk about that at the end of the show, potentially.
That's that lady that moans in the bathroom in Harry Potter, right? Laura Loomer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Something like that. She's a lady who got banned from Twitter and locked herself up for 2 hours and gave up.
Oh, there you go.
Classy lady, this Laura Loomer.
Oh, yeah.
She's got Botox lips and fake tits, I tell you. Real Christian woman.
A real Kardashian. Oh, yeah, Christian. Okay. You're going that way.
Yeah. It's the joke. So that brings us to our real episode topic, because I was thinking about these things, and these legislations, from my perspective, of course, I just don't understand who, like, the standard person on the street. I understand why legislators support these, right? Their donors are telling them they want this stuff.
Yep.
But for us, neither one of these things helps me personally.
No.
In fact, the SAVE Act, I kind of half want it to pass, only because it will definitely negatively affect women voters who are voting for Republicans. 100%. Yeah. I don't want the damage to these people's lives, but the consequences of their actions have not roosted at home. And I want the 55-year-old wife, to need to have to go back to the courthouse in the county in which she was born to get her original birth certificate because she lost it when she was in college during the flood or whatever. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
That's who it's affecting. That's what I mean by it affects these people with lower economic status, because you're less likely to have preserved these records for 70 years or 50 years or whatever. And you're going to need it.
Yeah.
You have to have it. And you don't need that crap in daily life. You don't need it for a driver's license, right? You don't need it for any reason, but you're going to need it for this.
I don't think you even need it for a passport, because there's alternate ID methods, right?
There is. The restrictions for a passport are less than the restrictions for the SAVE Act, to my understanding. So what does that tell you, right? What does that tell you?
It's got to be good.
Yeah, it's got to
We
be
need to
great.
tighten up passport restrictions.
Well, that would be more reasonable to me than the SAVE Act, for sure.
Yeah.
They're not talking about that.
Why would they, Mike? Everyone
Why
has to
would
go.
they?
Everyone has to go visit the American homeland in Israel.
USA. So, speaking of Israel, this led me to go down a rabbit hole, and I wanted to explore kind of the history of the relationship between the United States and Israel. And along the way, we're going to talk about pivotal moments and key information for everybody to keep in mind when they think about what's going on. Does that sound like fun to you, Nate? Sounds like fun to me.
Man, I can't wait. Do I get a pat down before we go on this fun ride, or do I have to pat myself down, Mike?
I mean, handies are not provided, but encouraged.
Sure. Yeah. It's just common courtesy, right?
Yeah. I mean, what's a little handy between friends? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
There's three of us
Happy
here.
Israel Day to you.
I,
Happy
and the
Israel
listener.
Day to me.
Yeah. It ain't gay if it's a three-way. There's three of us right here in your headphones or on your speaker. Hopefully you're not listening out loud.
Well, if you are, there's more than three, so
There's more than three.
got to be even less gay then, right?
There we are. So, Israel declared independence in 1948. The United States recognized Israel shortly after their declaration of independence. At this time, from 48 to 66, this is our time frame, the U.S. Israel relationship was mostly diplomatic. Military cooperation was extremely limited, and there were not many institutions that connected the countries. Also, 1948, we're going to discuss two events. So, in 1948, the UN published their Convention on the Prevention and Punishment of Genocide. The UN defined genocide as killing members of a group, causing serious bodily or mental harm to a group, deliberately inflicting conditions of life calculated to bring about the group's physical destruction, and imposing measures intended to prevent births within the group. This is going to be important later.
Yes.
Also in 1948 was an event called the Nakba. Have you heard of the Nakba?
That's the group of people that were chasing Frodo through Middle Earth, right?
Ah, similar. Surprisingly similar. So, the Nakba is, I believe, Arabic for the catastrophe.
Okay.
And it describes the events of the 1948 Palestine War. One half of the Arab population of Palestine, aka Israel, was expelled or made to flee through various means. And the means included biological warfare, otherwise banned by conventions. Over 500
But we supported
towns.
them right away off the bat?
The United States recognized Israel in 1948. The Nakba happened shortly thereafter. And the Nakba didn't happen until after the State of Israel was established. So their first act as a government was the Nakba. We're going to listen about the Nakba, and we're going to decide what it is in our heads. We're not going to say it out loud. Over 500 towns were completely depopulated through one method or another, including several towns that were massacred. These towns were largely destroyed and then repopulated by Jewish immigrants. The towns were then renamed in Hebrew.
Who was there to begin with?
The Arab Palestinians were there to begin with in British-occupied Palestine. We're going to get there.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So it began with various terror groups, some of whom were aligned with the Nazi Party and volunteered to fight the British during World War II. And the IDF took formation from these groups and did the Nakba. So before 1948, Israel was British-occupied Palestine. It is a colony of the British Empire. Inside of Israel, there were Zionist terror groups that were fighting the British government. Those terror groups then formed at the state when Israel became a state. The IDF, Israel Defense Force, was formed from the terror groups. They already had paramilitary groups. They all just kind of reformed and became the IDF. And then those terror groups, who, again, some of them fought against the British with the Nazis, massacred 500 towns and expelled half the indigenous population of Palestine.
Isn't there a better way to say that, Mike? They forcibly relocated them or relocated them beneath the earth or something?
Expelled or massacred? Which one do you want me to change?
And being a little facetious.
The 500 towns that were completely destroyed and then renamed and repopulated with settlers. We're going to call them settlers. So, the long story short is that in 48, these former terrorists mass killed people, and then they relocated. A lot of them, unfortunately or interestingly, were refugees from Nazi Germany to the towns. So very weird. A very weird origin, right?
Yeah.
Not something we're supposed to think about, but the very first act of Israel was pretty close to that little description that we heard. Oh, and I forgot, there was one last thing on that 1948 UN Convention was forcibly transferring children of the group to another group, similar to residential schools in the United States.
Sure.
So that's the idea. Do we have any questions so far, Nate? Any
for
comments?
The children, Mike. It's for the children.
It's for the children. Always trust a politician who was on Epstein Island who tells you they're doing something for the safety of children.
Yeah. I don't have any comments that I can say on air, so carry on, Mike.
Got ya. Oh, yeah. We're in tepid water. So we're moving into the 50s. During the 1950s, private funding networks started to be developed. Major fundraising organizations expanded operations in the United States. Israeli bonds began being sold to American investors, and philanthropy became an important revenue source for politicians. 1962 represents the first U.S. weapons sale to Israel. In 1962, the United States approved the sale of Hawk surface-to-air missiles to Israel. By 1960, this is, again, 1962 was our first weapons sale. By 1960, the CIA had determined the U.S. possessed 400% more missiles than the USSR. Political rhetoric at the time convinced Americans the USSR was ahead in the arms race. By 1961, all military spending was done with the knowledge of overwhelming U.S. military superiority. From that point, the military gap increased. So within 15 years of the end of the Second World War, our government was aware that we were 400% stronger than the USSR militarily at a minimum. And yet, we continued expanding.
I mean, you stick what you're good at, Mike, right? Play the hits, as it were.
Oh, very true. Very true.
And it's concerning and it's frightening and all of these things, but it's almost like a horror movie trope, right? Like, if anyone has to be ahead on the missiles, like, I'm glad it's us.
To an extent, I agree.
Well, yeah. I mean,
Right.
I'm just talking like base survival if another country gets cheeky or something, right?
To an extent, I'd agree. But that agreement ends
Not
if
Iran,
our politicians are acting
we love them.
in the interest of not the citizens of the country.
Yeah.
Right. And then it becomes a problem in the same degree as a foreign adversary having that technology.
Well, like everything else, there are multiple shades of gray. And the most black and white approach is, I'm glad that we have all of that and nobody else does. But of course, it's complicated and not that straightforward.
And it's always convoluted. And it's always complicated, muddies the water. And then, of course, when things get complicated and muddy, that's when people who are trying to take advantage arise, right? Like,
Yeah.
that's what happens. It's unfortunate.
Mike, real quick sidebar.
Yeah,
Have you ever seen the original Reefer Madness?
I have.
Have you seen the Reefer Madness musical remake?
I have never even heard of that.
Okay, it is also hilarious, but it needs to be watched right after you watch the original. But there's a line in one of the songs in the musical remake that says, "When danger's near, exploit their fear." And it's one of those lines where it just sticks with you. And I saw that movie more than 10 years ago. And that line, that little snippet just lives rent-free in my head because it explains everything that ever happens.
To an extent, for sure.
Well, politically.
Politically, yeah. Propaganda. It explains propaganda perfectly. And it's not a coincidence that the person who invented the word propaganda and developed it was, I think, the nephew of Sigmund Freud or something. Like,
He
it's
wanted
all
to have
related.
sex with his mom or what?
Yeah, something like that. Well, and there's accusations that Freud was covering up for the pedophile crimes of the ruling elites of Vienna. And I don't know how true any of that is, but it makes sense. It makes sense. So, we're going to move on here to 1969. 1969 was a year that the Six-Day War occurred. During the war, Israel kind of kicked ass and took names, and Israel made its mark and proved its perceived strategic value to the United States. After this point, the U.S.-Israeli military cooperation expanded, and Israel was increasingly becoming a strategic partner rather than a diplomatic ally. Also to note, 1969 and the Six-Day War is also known as the Naksa, which is Arabic for the setback.
Okay.
280 to 325,000 Palestinians from the West Bank and Gaza were displaced when they were captured by Israel. Previous to this, they were independent. Approximately 400 towns were completely destroyed. A 1971 UN committee investigating the action determined that Israel is deliberately carrying out policies aimed at preventing the population of the occupied territories from returning to their homes and forcing those who are in their homes in the occupied territories to leave, all with the ultimate objective of annexing and settling the occupied territories. The special committee considers the acts of the government of Israel in furtherance of these policies to be the most serious violation of human rights that has come to its attention. The evidence shows that this situation has deteriorated since the last mission of the special committee in 1970.
And people are bitching about the United States for having slavery for, 87, 90 years? Is this not worse?
It's worse because it's in living memory. 1967.
It's currently happening.
It's currently happening. But 1967 that's recent. That's within living memory of many adults. Not my living memory, but my parents, right? So, within 4 years, the United Nations said it was the worst human rights violation they had ever seen. And they did that with arms our government gave them and continue to give them. 1973 was the year of the Yom Kippur War. The importance for us is the United States conducted a large-scale military resupply. So after the United Nations said they were horrifyingly committing atrocities, the United States resupplied them for the Yom Kippur War. This point is largely considered the turning point in our modern relationship. The war was against Israel, led by Egypt and Syria, backed by Morocco, Iraq, Cuba, Jordan, and Kuwait, who were also backed by the USSR. The Sinai Peninsula, Gaza Strip, Golan Heights, and West Bank was the land under dispute. For a side note, Israel took these lands in 1967 from each of the countries that were involved in the war against Israel. So Israel took some land in 67, 73, the people they stole land from fought back. The USSR, of course, backed not Israel, and the U.S. backed Israel. This ties into, of course, Cold War politics, possibly the entry point, right? Cold War politics.
I don't know if this will make it to the final episode, Mike, but Israel is behaving like an entitled feminist.
That's an interesting observation, Nate. Continue.
Well, I mean, think about it. Like, they declare themselves a country, and then we're like, oh, you're so beautiful, we love you, we recognize your sovereignty. And then they're like, we can do nothing wrong. There are no consequences ever for our actions. And they commit the fucking worst, like, war crimes or humanitarian whatever the UN has ever fucking seen. That was the quote, right? Like, the worst.
Yeah, that's the quote.
The UN has ever seen. And we're talking about the gas warfare from World War I and what Hitler did to the Jews. And we're saying Israel is worse.
That is correct. That is correct. And they use the Holocaust as a shield. That's what's real sick about it, in my opinion, is they use the Holocaust as a shield. Like, horrifying human right violation, evil event, right? Horrible. And they use that as a shield to protect themselves from criticism for their own horrific war crimes.
Well, see, it's the same as an entitled feminist. Some man somewhere was mean to some woman, therefore I'm entitled to do whatever I want with no consequence.
Yeah.
I mean, sure, the feminists aren't committing war crimes, but probably only because nobody cares about men's rights.
Well, the radical feminists definitely support human rights violations.
Yeah.
So there's some parallels for sure.
But I can't believe, well, I mean, I can believe it, but I can't believe that an international governing body is on record saying what Israel has done is the worst they've ever seen when you have the Holocaust and World War I, chemical warfare, and other things on the record. You've got the smallpox blankets, which we mentioned last episode. You've got all of these other things, and this is the worst they've ever seen.
To be clear, they said it was the worst or it was the most serious violation of human rights that has come to its attention.
Sure.
So we can deflect a little bit of that. I would also like to add the UN is a U.S. cutout, and it was intended to be a U.S. cutout. So it's kind of like the empire calling itself out a little, right?
Yeah, but that's still a pretty huge call out for something that is yourself.
Oh, that's a huge call out.
Right.
400 towns.
I just wanted to be clear for the listeners that this is like some serious shit going on, and what we're being told in the news media about what's going on is not what's going on.
We're going to get there.
Sure.
About the current news media, because there's a lot of controversy about what's going on right now as well. And it's all very murky, of course.
Yes.
And there's no way for some hicks from the sticks to understand what the fuck's going on. But I know enough to know that what I'm being told is not true.
Yeah. Do you want to do a cigar check? You about halfway, Mike, or not quite?
No, I'm like a quarter of the way. Are you halfway?
Yeah, I'm about halfway.
Yeah, we can do a cigar check. I'll puff a little harder. What do you think?
I mean, you get excited about Israel, of course, as evidenced by this whole season, but doesn't leave much time for smoking when you're going USI all the time. Just saying.
USI.
I think it's fine. It's better than my initial impression from licking the cap or wetting the cap, right? And I guess the first quarter or even the first half was better than expected. And the middle here, I'm not super thrilled about. So I'm questioning now, was the first quarter good because my expectations were pretty low and it was better than that? Or was it decent to begin with? I don't know. It's not bad.
I'm smoking it a lot slower than you are, and I'm enjoying it fine. I don't think it's bad.
I don't think it's a Don Smith Series D, though. But
no, it is not a Don Smith. Not a Don. No Don Smith on this one. I'm not singing its praises, but it is adequate, right?
It's a perfectly serviceable cigar.
That's a good way to put it. Yeah, perfectly serviceable cigar. I like it. So, by the mid-1970s, right around that 10-year mark after the UN said that they were the worst human rights violators of modern times, Israel had become one of the largest recipients of American foreign aid. Foreign aid packages became recurring rather than exceptional. Previous to the 70s, it was sporadic at best. Long-term budgetary commitments started to emerge, and congressional appropriations became a continuing feature of the relationship. Israel is now the largest recipient of U.S. foreign aid, totaling $352 billion in 2025 when adjusted for inflation. Israel has received more than double the aid of any other country. Estimated aid in the fiscal year 25 was $54 billion. For reference, free universal education in the United States is projected to cost $35 to $90 billion a year. The high end includes all living costs and tuition and books, right? The bottom is for tuition only. Max costs would run about 1% of the annual budget, 31% of the current federal budget student aid, aka 2/3 cheaper than we are currently spending, and is projected to cost offset in 10 years due to the tax revenue generated from the graduates.
Man, why would we want education when we can genocide in the Middle East?
Dude, we literally give Israel the same amount of money that it takes to pay for universal education. That disgusts me.
I understand that, and it disgusts me as well.
And it cost offsets. We know it's going to cost offset because an electrician is going to make more money than somebody at McDonald's.
Well, and we're going to fall behind the global powers. And if you want to be all xenophobic and shit and say we don't want immigrants taking our jobs, then you had goddamn better get an education and figure out something worthwhile to do. You can't sit there and shit on a sheet of paper and call it art and sell it as an NFT. Like, that's not going to cut it. It's just not. It's not going to cut it. So yeah, vote that way.
Well, a little tidbit. If we just had all the state colleges be free, it would be cheaper than what we currently spend. We could just make them free and it would cost less. So why aren't we doing that? I don't know. It has to be for reasons other than what they're saying. That's all I'm saying. It doesn't make any sense. It does, but only from a certain conspiratorial point of view.
Yes.
So, By the late 1970s, professional advocacy organizations had expanded their presence in Washington. There were some Supreme Court decisions in the 1970s that led to the rise of the Political Action Committee. And of course, Israel began fundraising for politicians at this time. It became legal, and they did so. It's the beginning. The beginning. In 1981, the United States and Israel formalized their military and strategic coordination. This is the first instance where the relationship moved beyond aid into institutional security cooperation. So the 27 budget is talking about creating a whole bureaucratic arm for this purpose, but its roots go back 50 years.
Yep.
And that's what I wanted to cover. That's what we're trying to explain. All the things that are happening now, they're just the end of a process that's built over time, and it's happened so slow, nobody's noticed. Right.
When you let your ruling class rule until they're 90 or 100 or in a wheelchair in a nursing home, you get some Dune level-esque planning of some bullshit wheels within wheels.
Yes. And if the planning is being done by donors who have interests of their own and multi-generational interests, clearly, you're going to get some wheels within wheels.
Well, family legacy interests.
At minimum. At minimum. And they're way beyond the interests of a peasant farmer.
Yeah. Or, any electrician or Excel spreadsheet desk jockey guy, right?
Right. Yeah. Jack-offs who are barely surviving by comparison to
the
maybe donor class. Podcast. The Epsteiners. Yeah. So, 1985. I think we've talked about free trade agreements on the show before.
Yeah.
In 1985, the U.S. Israel Free Trade Agreement was signed. This is, of course, the first U.S. Israel Free Trade Agreement. It's been modified since then, but it established a commercial dimension to the relationship, and business interest gained a direct stake in stability and continuity. Under the agreement, Israeli goods entering the United States are generally duty-free and exempt from the merchandise processing fee. There are significant restrictions on U.S. imports into Israel, primarily agricultural and manufacturing. Israel maintains tariffs on poultry, eggs, dairy, fresh and frozen vegetables, fruit, and olive oil. Israel also charges a TAMA tax, which typically doubles the price on U.S. goods imported to Israel. It does not cover goods or exports to Gaza or the West Bank. It establishes relief from injury safeguards for Israel, but it does not do the same for the United States. It has no protection for intellectual property rights. Recently, beginning in 2026, Israel promised to eliminate some of these restrictions. The treaty expands Israeli territory to qualified industrial zones, including areas of Egypt and Jordan, which coordinate with the Greater Israel Project, or, as we've previously discussed, the state that previously existed called Canaan.
Those Canaanites playing the long game, Mike. Holy shit.
The Canaanites are playing the long game, dude. U.S. Law 19, USC 4452, explicitly bans boycotts of Israeli goods. Hell of a free trade agreement.
Fucking golden path bullshit right there. So why?
Go ahead.
Mike?
Yeah, go ahead. I was going to explain a little bit, but go ahead.
Well, you can. I have a question because you mentioned that the trade agreements or whatever have protections for Israel, but not for the United States. Like, to me, and I'm just some guy doing pivot tables in Excel, right? What is the benefit? Why? What's the benefit? Why would the United States do that?
I'm glad you asked, because this comes into what I was about to say.
Okay, perfect.
Lopsided free trade agreements being beneficial to foreign nations and harmful to the United States manufacturing base is a standard operating procedure. CAFTA, which is the Canadian-American Free Trade Agreement, and NAFTA, which is the North American Free Trade Agreement, are similar in their nature, as is the free trade agreement with the EU, Argentina, and other countries. This free trade agreement explains why there are so many Israeli companies involved in U.S. industry, right? Israeli companies dominate tech, military, surveillance, food, and entertainment.
Sure.
Traditionally, this is the critical point of view. Free trade is code for exporting jobs to foreign nations, corporations being able to exploit labor forces in foreign nations at the expense of American workers. And they wrote about this. I read books about this in college about NAFTA and how it created favelas in Mexico. And part of the reason why we have so many Mexican immigrants in the United States is because of NAFTA, right? It eliminated the farm base. They didn't protect their farms. So we flooded their market with our agricultural goods and it crushed their farm sector. And then all those farm jobs disappeared and all that land got bought up by corporations. And they started doing corporate farming down there, right? It's like, so it's just a mechanism.
Because the protections are there for one country doesn't mean the benefits aren't there, even if they're not written into the agreement. The benefits are unseen, unchecked, untracked.
The benefits are structural and exploitative in nature, right? The NAFTA did not touch labor rules. Yep. So when you hear of a manufacturer moving their plant to Mexico, they can import those goods duty-free into the United States and not follow any labor laws.
Sure.
And also pay them nothing because they don't have a minimum wage, or their minimum wage is way less than what it would be here.
Like a half a peso or something.
Yeah, whatever it is, right? It's not great. That's the point of a free trade agreement. They sell it to us, the population, which I think by now most common folk are aware that free trade agreements are code for fucking us, right?
Man,
but it took a while.
I don't think the common person is that intelligent, though, unfortunately.
I mean, half the population's less than average, and the average person's a moron.
Yeah.
So, as we've talked about on the show, half the graduates in 25 couldn't fucking read. So, we're not in a good place.
No. Not at all.
They're not employable. I have no idea what they're going to do in our society unless they get, put in a meat grinder.
Well, they're going to vibe code or become Soylent Green, Mike.
There'll be furniture.
Yeah. Be a chair dog from Dune or something, right?
So, starting in the mid-'80s, campaigns began becoming more expensive. Campaigns in the United States, that is. Election campaigns became more expensive. Political action committees gained importance. Fundraising became central to congressional politics. Financial resources became the main influencer in policy decisions. 1991, year of the Gulf War. Do you ever met any Gulf War veterans, Nate? You know some personally, Gulf War veterans?
I don't think so.
So, as we've discussed on the show, my dad, his lifetime, I knew a lot of Gulf War veterans. And I met quite a few that had Gulf War syndrome, guys that had surgery on their brains because they had been affected by chemical attacks. And it was horrifying.
Yeah.
Horrifying in the same way that the modern wars that affected our generation were, just in a shorter time period, right?
Yep.
So, not a good situation, that's for sure. But as a result of the Gulf War, the United States and Israel expanded their joint military operations. And Israeli intelligence was the major information source for the Gulf War. That continued until the present day. Now, what you have to remember is that even in 91, the accusations that started the Gulf War were false. But we got that information from Israel. We got bad information from Israel in 91. And we got bad information from Israel for Iraq. And we got bad information from Israel for Afghanistan.
Sure.
And apparently we got good information for Iran, right? Until 5 years from now we find out something else. Huh?
Love them, though.
Oh, yeah. They're the best. USI. But the Gulf War was the first war that we sent our troops to based on information from Israel. That later turned out to be inaccurate. Like the other
Was it
ones.
Accurate for Israel? What did they stand for?
We'll see. Oh, well, time will tell, man. Time will tell.
Yeah.
In the 90s, the United States developed the Oro Missile Defense Program. The United States and Israeli militaries developed a joint missile defense program. Major defense contracts were signed. These defense contracts became linked to reoccurring corporate revenue streams, and congressional districts with defense manufacturing acquired economic interest connected to continuing the relationship. So all these districts that have these arms manufacturers, almost entirely in the southern United States, not coincidentally, they all have economic reasons to support the relationship with Israel because we are selling them weapons. We're not really selling them. We're giving to them. We're getting charged. Up here in the north, we're being charged for the people in the south to make weapons to give to Israel. People in the south are being charged as well. But we don't get any of the jobs up here. So I don't know what to tell you.
Yeah.
Like, Civil War never ended. So by the late 90s, the U.S. and Israel had expanded their joint research and development teams. Our research institutes became combined. 2001, we had 9/11, which created the counterterrorism framework that we live in today. Israel became an integral partner for intelligence, homeland security, surveillance, and border security.
They became a partner for intelligence and they're feeding us bullshit?
Yes, that is correct. Wow. The major intelligence that started the major wars we know of all has turned out to be false after the fact. Bad intelligence.
So you're telling me there's a chance?
Yeah, there's a chance. There's a chance. It's a coincidence that every single time it's been wrong. Almost like it's an excuse.
Yeah.
So, starting in 2001, Israeli cybersecurity firms became integrated into the American market. Private sector stakeholders are now expanding beyond traditional defense contractors. And of course, we have flock cameras. We have all this stuff that everybody is becoming aware of that nobody likes. In 2010, Citizens United became the law of the land. The Supreme Court decided that money is speech and corporations are people. This means that large donors and organized interests can gain greater ability to participate in electoral politics through independent expenditures. Right? So money is speech. Corporations are people. So they cannot have their free speech limited, which means that they can spend unlimited amounts of money in political campaigns in the United States.
Yes, but I can only contribute $5 to my favorite candidate.
Right. Well, human beings aren't people. They're human beings. They're not as good as corporations. The 2014 McCutcheon decision expanded Citizens United, made the problem worse. 2011 to 2016, Congress repeatedly funded the Iron Dome, David's Sling, and the Arrow system that we talked about earlier, right? The Arrow system from the 90s. This has created a long-term manufacturing research and procurement relationship. This has all been funded at U.S. taxpayer cost. In 2014, the United States Israel Strategic Partnership Act was signed into law. It is a major statutory milestone. This expanded official cooperation in homeland security, technology, energy, and strategic coordinations. This coordination is officially part of the federal code. We're going to go back to McCutcheon. It expanded campaign finance flexibility. It increased the ability of donors and organizations to spend money. Now, this is where we're going to be controversial. Are we ready for the controversial part? And we're going to name drop because this is not me saying this. I am reporting what somebody else said, okay?
Sure.
According to historian Gil Troy, right? Gil Troy is the guy, not me. Gil Troy did a study in 2016, and Gil Troy discovered that 50% of funds going to the Democratic Party and 25% of funds going to the Republican Party were from Jewish donors. 15 of the top 25 individual donors in 2020 were Jewish. 2% of the population is Jewish in the United States, right? This is not representative of the pro-Israel donors, right? This is Jewish donors. The Israel donors are higher. We don't know what that percentage is. It's not tracked. Sure. This does also not include dark money, which is legal because of the McCutcheon decision. Right? So we have money in our politics that is not trackable and legally cannot be tracked. Right?
What percent was the Jewish again?
Total population or funding?
Funding and total population.
50% of the money the Democratic Party raises and 25% of the money the Republican Party raises come from Jewish donors. 15 of the top 25 donors in 2020 were Jewish. 2% of the U.S. population is Jewish. This is not a representation of pro-Israel donors. Pro-Israel donors are higher and it's not trackable.
Yeah. So 50 and 25, this is probably not accurate to say that that's 75% of donors?
It's hard to say. It's hard to say. Half of the total funds that the Democratic Party raises come directly from individuals of Jewish descent.
Yeah,
which tells me that half of their money comes from individual donors who are super rich. It's
disproportional. The percentage of donations is disproportional to the percent of population.
Well, 2% versus 50%, yeah.
Yeah, plus 25%, right?
Plus 25% to the Republican Party, plus the unknown of pro-Israel support from, the weird Christian churches that don't believe Jesus is the Messiah.
I mean, it's similar to say that, LGBTQ representation in popular media is 12% when their population is less than 2%. But we're talking bigger percentages here. So if you're outraged about media washing or whatever is going on in Hollywood and movies and TV shows, this is worse.
Way worse. So we're going to tepid this. So that was a study by Gil Troy. He found that it is debated whether his methodology was accurate. Of course, right?
Yeah.
So we're going to talk about some more stats here. That number is not representative of overall American Jewish support for Israel, which lands at 64%. So 64% of the American Jewish population in surveys supports Israel. 36% does not, right? Polling shows that 36% of the U.S. population supports Israel. 41% supports Palestine. The rest is non-committed. This does not represent support for Hamas specifically, right?
Sure.
That is not support for Hamas. The density of support is skewed by political affiliation, right? So 69% of Republicans and 69% of Republicans and 65% of Democrats. 69% of Republicans support Israel, whereas 65% of Democrats support Palestine. Age is a major factor, right? Because younger people are more likely to support Palestine, and also religion. So 64% of Jews, American Jews, support Israel. 65% of evangelicals support Israel. Those who are not affiliated are at 22% support for Israel, and the Muslim population is 4%.
Sure.
Now, this is another interesting stat. 57% of the entire U.S. population supports a two-state solution.
67?
57.
Oh, 57.
57. Mm-hmm. So the money that our politicians are getting that determine their policy choices does not reflect any demographic in the United States, including the American Jewish population. The American Jewish population is more anti-Israel than the elected politicians in the country. Of course, Zionism, right? There's, as we've discussed on the show previously, many Jewish groups are anti-Zionist.
So what, fuck is going on, Mike?
Well, because of a series of decisions by the Supreme Court, the floodgates for private money going directly into the pockets of politicians were open, and now the richest people and corporations and organizations get to give them unlimited amounts of money, and that money is going to come with strings. And if half of the money is coming from one group, then that group is going to be overrepresented in the interest of that government, regardless of what size that group is as a percentage of the population, right? Like, we have a pay-to-play system officially, right? You can buy the government legally.
Yeah.
So that was in our lifetime. I remember Citizens United in McCutcheon. That was a serious blow to our democracy. We haven't discussed the Princeton study, but the United States is an oligarchy. Our opinions as voters have no bearing on government policy, to the point where it's not even worth voting, really. Realistically, if you're voting for a candidate from either major political party or an incumbent, unless that incumbent's Massey or somebody like them, right? Why are you even voting? Your vote doesn't matter. They're getting money from the same people, so they're going to do the same bidding. They're serving the same master. So what's the difference? Just an opinion, of course.
Well, yeah, I'd hoped it was something more exciting than just money, you know what I mean?
Everything's about money.
Well,
Are you going to go to the island without money?
I guess, but it seems so boring.
So make some money. Money is what makes the world go round, dude.
I understand. I'm just, disappointed.
I mean, these politicians are bought off cheap. If you look at the
Super
price
cheap.
of their campaigns
it's fucking
versus
cheap.
how much money they're spending, I mean, the return ratio, if you're a business person or somebody who's really wealthy, the return on investment, the ROI, is insane when you give money to a politician, right? Look at what happened to Massey.
Yeah.
The guy got stomped. Look at what happened to Casey Pusht in Ohio. He got destroyed. Those are Putin-esque, communist China, it's Chinese democracy is what it is.
Yeah.
Like, the numbers are Chinese democracy. Like, I don't even believe them. I think it's rigged. It's a possibility. I'm not saying it's true, but the numbers are startling.
Yeah.
Nobody wins an election 79-21 in a primary. That's ridiculous.
No.
Especially when one of them's not even American in a Republican primary, for God's sakes.
Yeah.
Well, you know what I mean.
Well, I know exactly what you mean.
It's crazy. And I don't know. Maybe people are convinced by the boomer slop. I'm not. I don't know. The numbers tell a story. They could lie, but they tell a story, and it ain't good.
Not good at all.
No, I can tell that you were disturbed by those stats, Nate.
Yeah, I was incredibly disturbed.
Yeah, and that is, again, according to historian Gil Troy in a 2016 study, not me. This is a report of what somebody else said 10 years ago, not me.
It's only gotten worse. Like, that's true. It's only gotten worse.
Well, yeah, it's more. And it's going to be, the Democratic Party is going to be way more than 50%, because now there's anti-Israel rumblings amongst the Democrats and the Republicans. And you know that the guy that ran against Massey got $32 million from a handful of people. That's a part that the stats don't say, is that all this money is coming from less than 100 people or groups, right?
Yeah.
There's 360 million people, and let's just say 8 million Jewish Americans. And of the 8 million Jewish Americans, 10 or 15 or 20 of them are giving all this money out, right? So
yeah, it's a massive percentage versus a 2% population.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I mean, and it's even less than that. It's like 5 people or 10 people or whatever.
Well, of course it is, but I mean, like, even the stat on its face value is insane. It's insane. And then you realize that, like, Simha's not giving money to this. Like, you know that. So then the stat becomes even crazier.
Exactly. So it's a scary world.
Well, knowledge is scary.
It can be. In 2016, a 10-year Memorandum of Understanding was signed. This established an approximate $38 billion assistance program over the next decade. Not coincidentally ending this year when they're going to try to make permanent bureaucratic relations the law, right?
Well, $38 billion is cheap compared to what we paid Iran, so we're setting ourselves up for failure.
Yeah, not by comparison to what we gave them in 25, right? In 1 year, we gave more than that.
Sure.
So it was just a policy that established the concept that we have a permanent military tie with Israel that is legally binding for a decade. Cannot be broken by the next president, let's say, right?
Sure.
That's the key. This, of course, made long-term planning easier for defense agencies and contractors. Long-term planning.
You mean people, not corporations, but people.
Well, they are people. Corporations are people. I remember Mitt Romney saying, "The corporations are people, my friend. You better believe it." You remember that? I remember that. Made me very disturbed, especially after we found out he was a vulture capitalist who killed corporations to make money. And he believes that corporations are people. Real positive thinking, that guy.
Can't wait.
It's good times. I'm glad that he never got elected, so we got Obama instead. What a joy that was.
What a win.
What a win. I thought so at the time. They fooled me. I will admit, friends, I have been fooled. I have been fooled many times before, and I'm sure I'll be fooled again. And I hope that I'm more difficult to fool in the future. That's all I can say. Because I've been fooled. I will admit it. It doesn't make me happy to say it.
Oh, yeah.
But
We've all been fooled, Mike. We've all been
fooled. Yeah. So, beginning in 21, we started to see the growth of venture capital in the defense industry. This included cybersecurity, artificial intelligence, defense technology, and semiconductor tech. This is where Pegasus came in, right? Pegasus was an Israeli developed program that would automatically download to a phone that a message was sent, and that would allow them to view all of your data entry.
Sure. Thanks, Obama.
It was great. In 2022, Israel was moved to CENTCOM. So they officially got an area in U.S. Central Command. As a result of Israel getting an office in CENTCOM, joint military operations expanded through 24. We saw more air defense coordination, counter-drone technology development, intelligence cooperation, and regional security planning. Military-to-military relationships have now become routine.
Great.
In 2025, the United States-Israel Defense Partnership Act was passed. Oh no, I'm sorry, it wasn't passed. The 2025 United States-Israel Partnership Act did not pass. It failed to pass. This measure supported the idea of expanding defense research and development, counter-drone, blah, 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 blah. This is the precursor. So in 25, this legislation failed because it was an independent piece of legislation, right? In 27, this act has been put into the 27 Defense Authorization Act.
Sure.
Right? Which includes anti-tunnel cooperation, counterterrorism operations, technological integrations, industrial cooperation, testing and evaluation, R&D controls, and of course creates a permanent structure within the Department of Defense, aka the Department of War. Right? So in 25, this failed to pass independently. Now they're putting it in the Defense Authorization Act, which almost assuredly will pass.
Well, 25 seems like a rookie mistake for somebody we've supported since they genocided all those people.
Well, that's how legislation works, right? It's a ramping up.
Well, it is. I
So-
mean, that's why Obamacare passed. It was in a housing regulation thing, and it's why the Patriot Act passed with the increase or the dismantling of the Fourth Amendment.
That's how it works,
It
right?
is.
Look at England and banning slavery. It was in the works. It was in talks before the Revolution.
Yep.
Became a bill in 93, and then it was passed in 33. Sometimes these things take time.
Well,
And,
everything takes time, and it seems like it was a rookie mistake to have it not pass in 25. Like, it should have been tacked onto something else. That's how that works. Like, everybody knows it.
Everybody knows it. Now we see it coming. I've heard it described as the great knowing or acknowledging, right?
Sure.
Like the noticing, I think is what the real term was.
Your noticing has been noticed.
Yeah, the noticing. We're noticing what's going on. We're noticing what's going on. But as we have discussed, this is the end of my little thing, right? Because it's 26 now. Like,
Yeah.
we're here. We've arrived. We have arrived. And as we can see, this relationship has developed over time. And now we're just in the current phase. We're just in the current phase. And
Well, we're just trying to, well, not we, but the powers that be are just trying to codify the status quo of what's been happening so they don't have to have any scrutiny later or ever again over what they've been doing. They've already been doing it. They've been doing it. They've done it. They've been doing it. They've done it. They've supported everything. They've sanctioned everything. And they just want to remove the red tape and the consequences, potentially, that might befall them if things are noticed too much.
I agree. I've been listening to some political analysis of the situation, and a lot of the commentators basically have come to the conclusion that it doesn't change anything functionally other than it eliminates any ability of future Congresses to pull back.
Yeah.
Right? It strings them in. It just makes it a permanent thing. You can no longer defund it. So no matter what happens politically in the United States, it continues on forever. Cannot be changed.
Yeah, it could be
Right.
changed, but it's a lot harder to change than it is to codify.
Right. It'd be a constitutional amendment or another law overturning that law.
Yeah. Which isn't
Which-
unheard of, but again, it's very difficult to do.
We would have to see new political parties take control. We would have to see like the 1840s where the Whigs ceased to exist and the Republican Party rose.
Yep.
Something like that.
I'm excited for that day again.
Well, we're overdue.
We are.
Right?
We really are.
It'd be similar to the shift that occurred in the 50s between the Republicans and the Democrats.
Yep.
Which, by the way, I've noticed a lot of people online mentioning that the Democrats were the pro-slave party back in the day
Sure.
without the context of the party flip.
Yep.
Which I'm not sure if the population is educated enough to even understand that or not. I don't know.
Somebody that I'm close to posted something a couple of years ago saying that today is a day we should celebrate because in Racine, Wisconsin, the Republican Party was formed, blah, blah, blah. And it was way back in the day. And this was back when the Republican Party was the Progressive Party. And I read just the little snippet that they posted, and I was like, you don't understand what happened because you would not vote for any of the things that Republican Party stood for because this was before the flip.
Right. It's back to the NFL or the National Labor Party and the populist parties. The Midwest is a nexus for change.
It is.
Geographically in the center, we're the flyover area, and we're ignored culturally. But we have a unique situation going on, and political change is probably going to come from this region. If we get change, it's going to come from this region because we have an independent cultural identity. Even the millennials, people our age, have an independent cultural identity tied to the place. And I don't share the national culture. I'm consciously aware that I do not belong in the culture, the U.S. culture as is presented to us through media.
Yeah.
I'm not part of that. Never been.
Are you speaking as a man or as somebody with your political beliefs? Or both?
I'm speaking as a person, as a whole person, because of where I grew up.
But not a corporation.
Well, yeah, a human being. As a human being that grew up here, I don't believe that we should throw garbage on the ground.
Yes.
Right? I believe that we should treat our neighbors the way that we wish they treated us. And I think that should be the law.
Yes.
As close to the law as we can get. And every individual should be free to do whatever they want to do as long as it doesn't affect anybody else.
Yep.
That's the way that I want to be. And that's the way all my neighbors are that way too. There's not a lot of disagreement amongst my neighbors about that.
Yeah.
That is not the case in other parts of the country from what I hear on the news. That might be a psyop as well.
I'm sure it is. I think that's part of the problem is the majority of people are like you and me. Sure, we might differ on certain things, right? We might differ on whatever. Who knows? Immigration or this or that or the other thing. But I feel that the overall American dream of being able to pursue what makes you happy, life, liberty, pursuit of happiness, whatever you can do to have a life, right? All of those things. As long as you're not harming somebody else, do what you want to do. I don't care who you bring home. I don't care how you dress. I don't care all of these things as long as you're not harming somebody else. And then the line gets fuzzy because people are like, well, these children, they need this gender reassignment or they need this or that. And it's like, well, they're not age of majority and let them choose when they get old enough. Like,
to me, that's not a fuzzy line at all.
It's not a fuzzy line to me.
Not at all. They're not adults.
It's a fuzzy line politically, and the fuzzy line comes in because then you say, well, they shouldn't be circumcised, they shouldn't be confirmed, they shouldn't be baptized, they can't lay in a tanning booth until they're 18. Should they be getting circumcised until they're 18? Probably not. I mean, a tanning booth is one thing, circumcision is different. Should they be getting their ears pierced? You know, where do you draw the line? And the fuzzy thing is the line because we used to be able to smoke at 18 and now it's 21.
That should tell everybody everything they need to know. They raised the smoking age to 21 because people who are 18 are not capable of making the decision according to the government and studies and research and everything else. Think about that.
Well, think about it. And then think about other things that people maybe want for children under 18.
There's a lot of restrictions when you deal with people who are under 18 for a reason.
Yep.
For a reason. Good reasons. I agree with those reasons.
Me too.
So I think sometimes it goes a little overboard, but...
Well, sometimes it goes overboard. The point is just, what age is the age? You know what I mean? 16, you can drive still. Are they going to raise that to 21?
For economic reasons, they won't.
Well, obviously not, Mike. But if you can drive, can't you smoke? I don't know.
Driving is the most dangerous thing we do every day.
I understand that. And don't you need a nice cigar to relax after all of that driving?
Right. Other than working on a ladder, apparently.
Well,
ladders are dangerous too, but...
Yep. And we've talked about the age of majority a lot on the show. And I'm not trying to incite anybody. The point is we don't have a clear age of majority in this country. And we don't have clear laws being passed. We don't have clear initiatives by the government up for review, public review. How many American citizens want to be pro-Israel? Not as many as the politicians, I'll tell you that, percentage-wise.
And I'm speaking of that, since I have a little cigar left, I would like to bring in some extra info for everybody.
Bring in some extra info. I'm sorry.
So,
bring in some extra info, Mike.
We talked about Laura Loomer earlier. She got herself into some controversy. There's a X account called APAC Tracker that posts how much APAC money politicians and other individuals receive. And Laura Loomer said that she wants that account banned, the people who share it to be banned, and for it to be labeled terrorist activity, to discuss how much money elected officials receive from Israel.
Sounds like somebody who's getting a lot of money from Israel to me, but...
something like that. I'm going to add in, there's a politician named Ben Gvir. Ben Gvir is the Israeli National Security Minister, and he recently declared that for every tear of an Israeli mother, 1,000 Lebanese mothers must weep. He called for all of Lebanon to burn in response to the deaths of 4 IDF soldiers on June 19th.
Sounds like some Mein Kampf level of insanity there, Mike.
Dr. Richard Hill and Dr. Gideon Polia, back in 2025, did a study, and they claim that 680,000 people have been killed in Gaza. Of the 680, 380,000 are children under the age of 5. The Israeli government officially claims around 70,000, by the way. So it's very controversial. That number is very controversial.
Yeah.
For reference, the population of Gaza is 2.2 million. So some researchers are saying that around a third of the population of Gaza has been made not alive in recent years.
Yeah, and of that third, half of it is children.
Half of it are children. Now, there is some conflation here because according to the Israeli government, there aren't 380,000 children in Gaza.
Well, not anymore.
That's not a good thing to laugh at. But
I mean, it's not, but we can't cry on the podcast, so.
Right. But yeah, so all these NGOs are saying, of course, the 680,000 number is impossible. But we don't know. We won't know for 20 years, probably.
Yep.
Because we don't have accurate information. It's being controlled.
And we may never have free information.
Media. Yeah, we do not have free access to information. So some people are claiming 700,000 people, a third of the population has been destroyed. Official government records are 70,000. So we'll see where it plays out. But upwards of a third is a lot. So information is convoluted. It's hard to say what's going on. Claims vary radically by a factor of 1,000% of what's going on the ground. We don't really know. We do not know. But even 70,000, you're talking 5% of the population dead.
It's still too much.
5 to 30%, 33%.
Yeah.
It's a big gap. We don't know. We don't really know. And we will find out eventually, but nobody will care or remember.
Well,
I won't
not
even
in
care
20
or
years.
Remember. We won't.
Especially if they codify everything that's going on.
Oh, if the defense bill passes, which it almost certainly will, we'll never hear the real number. Ever. It's just a fact of life. It's sad.
Unfortunately.
Not in my control.
Well, it should be. These people are all supposed to be working for us, but we're only human beings. We're not corporations, which are people. So
I don't have $30 million to give to an unknown candidate to go against Thomas Massie.
Why not, Mike? Pull yourself up by your bootstraps and make it happen.
Right. I mean, just be the grandson of a federal judge who gets government information through that source so you can start a computer company and then claim that you built it out of your garage.
Yep. Or, win and lose the Iran war 17 times a week so you can pump your stocks.
Yeah, sell meme coins and rug pull and then make it legal because you're in charge of the FEC.
Yeah. Go overthrow Venezuela and personally accept all the oil.
Yeah. Talk to your dead dog whose spirit goes back to the time of the Roman Colosseum.
Yeah, and fire up the chainsaw.
Fire up the chainsaw. Yeah. Are you done with your cigar, Nate?
Boy, I sure want to be. I can't smoke anymore.
I've caught up to you. And I got, I'd say 2 inches left, and it is sour.
It is nasty. I've got an inch left, and I can't do it anymore. I've been relighting it, and it's nasty, man.
It's not exactly delicious.
I'm not a fan. I'm going
to give it a fair rating, though.
Will you?
I'm going to give it a fair rating.
I
might be more than fair on that.
That's too fair.
That was more than fair.
That's plenty fair. You know what? I'm just going to give it a 1, but I feel like, I don't know, the Tatiana Cognac. But this one, the Oro Cubano Anniversario, I had almost as much like mouth debris as I did from the Tatiana.
I've had more mouth debris.
Yeah,
significantly more. On
par for the more poorly made Tatianas.
I'm going to give it a 175 only because the first half I would put at a 275 probably.
Maybe.
But the second half, it went all the way down into 0.75, 0.5 territory at the end there.
It really did.
But that might be my fault. I might have been smoking it too fast. I did speed up a little.
I don't think so. I smoked it pretty steady, and the first half was the best half, but it was still unremarkable. And I called it as perfectly serviceable, right? So it's unremarkable, on par with just a standard, like a bin cigar. And then the second half got real nasty. And I smoked the same speed throughout. I didn't speed up or slow down really. And I had to kind of like relight it several times to even it out. It's way too long, and we made that complaint with the Don Smith Series D that it was too long, but we liked that one. It was still a good all around. It was very, very surprising and amazing. And this one, it started out really good, not really good, but perfectly serviceable. Better than the cap tasted, and then the closer to the halfway point we got, the more it tasted just like the cap, which was kind of sour and nasty and acidic, and I'm not a fan of this. I guess I would smoke it over the Tatiana cognac, but maybe only halfway, and then I'd throw it because half of this cigar is about the same smoke time as the Tatiana cognac. So I don't know. It's weird. It's tough to rate some of these things because
it had such a wide flavor change that you have to balance out what it started at with where it ended up, and then acknowledge that it cost $1.70.
Yeah, it costs less than $2. So
you can throw it away, and half of it is still the size of a Robusto, damn near.
Yeah.
So you're still getting a Robusto's worth of, let's say, 2.5 smoke.
Sure.
But then you have the last part that we have to finish because of the show that otherwise we would just throw in the fire.
I blame
right?
Keith. I blame Keith.
Yeah, I mean, he's an asshole. He makes us smoke these things. He wants to know.
Yeah, he wants to know. He needs to know what's going on with the Oro Cubano Anniversario.
Yeah. He demands to know the answers.
Yeah.
He demands it, and we provide,
We do. We're here, we're doing it, and there you go.
Yeah, it's much is left to be desired by this cigar. I do not recommend it.
No.
Even at a bin. At $1.70, I could see it. If you're going to go on a fishing trip, hunting trip. And
how many of these cigars have we said? I mean, the Don Serie D is the same price, isn't it?
Yeah, it is.
So there's really no reason to get this ever.
No, not really.
I mean, if we're putting it in context.
In context, it's not
great. Like, don't do this one. You could do anything. I mean, the Tatiana Cherry Mike rated higher. Tatiana Cherry Mike rated higher than this one. Still less than the Don Smith, but like for the same price point, you could smoke almost anything other than this one.
True enough.
Yeah.
True enough.
I mean, I don't want to shit all over the Oro Cubano, but with just some recent episodes and the ratings, it's like, I mean, I would smoke this before the Ron Mexico for sure, but that's about it.
I'd smoke it before the Colt Blood Red Moon.
Yeah, or the Fidalgo. That thing was nasty.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, but otherwise, I don't know. I mean, if this is your only choice between a Fidalgo, a Ron Mexico, and the Oro Cubano, then take the Oro Cubano. But it's still not going to be, like, really great.
I mean, it is better than a Swisher Sweet for half, and then way worse for the second half. Way worse than any Swisher Sweet I've ever had.
That's fair.
A Prince Albert vanilla, which we should smoke on the show.
We should.
Is going to be a better cigar for sure.
Yeah. This one was interesting.
We got a good cigar next, hopefully. So we're going to be made in the shade.
We should. Yes, indeed. And I think we'll be potentially talking about something equally as enraging as what we just talked about. So apologies in advance. Otherwise, thank you for listening. Catch you next week.
Be safe. Have fun.